Good evening. You're welcome to Active Citizens Parliament right here on Active Citizens. My name is Sharon Enemchuku and I'm joined in the studio by Ifoma Oji. Good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening, Sharon. I'm very well.
You sound very
You
demure.
look pretty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're also joined via Zoom by our analyst in person of Mr. Maxwell Okoma. Good evening, sir.
Good
How
evening.
are you doing? Mr. Maxwell, can you hear us? All right, I think he's going to get that clear later on, but let's start with the stories that we have for today. First, Imo State Governor Hope Uzodimma has raised the minimum wage for civil servants in Imo State from 76,000 naira to 104,000 naira. And he has hiked salaries for doctors and tertiary level lecturers significantly, citing improved internally generated revenue and increased federal allocations. Now, secondly, in a fairly scathing address, former President Goodluck Jonathan warned that Nigeria could slip into a destabilizing one-party system amid recent mass defections to the APC. He argued that democracy cannot be manipulated or imposed through backdoor politics. Now, let's start with the first story with the Imo State increased allocations. Mr. Maxwell, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, very
Okay.
well.
You're
Welcome to the show, sir. All right, so we're going straight to the stories we have for today with the Imo State government increasing the minimum wage for civil workers in the state, citing the internal revenue of the state growing significantly high. So according to Governor Uzodimma, he said that the state's internally generated revenue had grown from 400 million naira to over 3 billion naira monthly. And he also stated that in 2020 that they were receiving allocations between 5 billion naira to 7 billion naira. But now it has increased to 14 billion naira. And also in 2020, he said the state recorded a debt profile of over 280 billion naira, but it has reduced to less than 100 billion naira right now. So these are amazing figures that we like to see, but let me start with you, Maxwell. The entire increase in the minimum wage, not just for civil workers but also for doctors, to over 500,000 naira, what do you make of that?
Okay, regarding the statements by the Imo State government on the increments on the minimum wage and the internally generated revenue, it's a good news for us to hear that the state government in Nigeria is approving as much as 104,000 naira as minimum wage in that, which is higher than the 77,000 naira or the 70,000 naira that was approved by the federal government. This is what we should be seeing, and exactly. I think that other states should follow in this light. As for the story surrounding the and you know what the approval here is for civil servants in the state. So we don't really know, this is from government pocket, of course. We don't know how the private sector is faring in Imo State, because if the state government is approving of this, the real question should be, can the private sector fund 104,000 naira as minimum wage with the current realities that we see in Nigeria? Of course, we know that there has been an increase in the numbers regarding unemployment, the inflation rate has increased and all. So we'll see what happens from there. It's good also to know, you know, they also increased that of doctors and different areas of governance. So I commend Imo State doing that, but we do hope that it doesn't stop at just announcements, because we know what the APC government is all about and why they will announce several things and then begin to do something else. So we do hope that they start to implement this. And I'm really hopeful that the internally generated revenue is not as a result of overtaxation of the people, because with the current situation of the country, the people should not be overtaxed. There should be the government should be aware of the realities of the sufferings of the people.
Thank you very much, Maxwell, for that. But coming to you, he made mention of the fact that he hopes this is not as a result of overtaxation.
Yeah.
But in his address, he made mention of the fact that we have started to reap the fruit of the subsidy that you know, the current president removed and all of that, and that is the benefits that we are seeing, and also the internally generated revenue. But now the question is this: do you think that they would go through with the implementation of this increase? That's number one. Number two, do you think it's sustainable, or is this just political showmanship?
You know, if you had asked me my view earlier, this is basically what I am going to tell you, because kudos to him. I am very much happy with the people of Imo State. This is a welcome development. Yes, I mean, imagine a situation whereby our country is grappling in inflation and the rest of you know, the things that, you know, are going on in the country, and this is more like a breath of fresh air.
Yes,
you get.
so
yeah, it's a welcome development, but it's still that same question to give you, because I mean, we have this culture in Nigeria that whenever we start something, we don't continue. There is no consistency, and we don't, you know, end up, you know, completing it. It's always flashy headlines that we make, and at the end of the day, you know, there is no implementation. But there are equally other states this and that have already approved the 77,000 naira. But however, there are some states too that have not approved or started paying this 70,000 naira, 76,000 naira. You get states like Adamawa and the rest of them. But I think they are topping now with this new development.
No, it's going to be a huge bragging right for Imo State indigenous.
That is if they implement
yes, exactly, if they implement this. But you know, coming to you, Maxwell, again, we made mention, Ifeoma just made mention of allocations, you know, federal government allocations to Imo State. And earlier this morning, we spoke about the Osun State government taking the federal government to Supreme Court because of withheld allocations from the month of February 2025 up until now. Now, do you see this as a perfect example of how allocations from federal governments can help bring good governance to a state? You know, just comparing Imo State's situation and that of Osun State.
I would say really that with the issues on allocations from the federal to the state, of course, this is the type of government that we practice in Nigeria. But I wouldn't expect states to be relying so much on the federal government. If states cannot look for their areas of strength and work on it and see how they can develop revenue within the states. And these are actually the problems that we are speaking about across Nigeria. There are so many states that have access to means of generating funds, generating revenue within the states through agriculture, through attraction of foreign investments, either by direct investment or portfolio investment, whatever the case may be. But because of the corruption prevalent in these states, because of a lot of, you know, the bottlenecks of even establishing businesses does not allow the private sector to thrive. And the private sector should be the sector that is helping our economy, but we don't see that currently. So you will continue to see the fight between states and the federal government, the fight between local government and the states and the federal government, all of this intertwined because of the over-reliance on the money coming from the federal. So states must look inward, look for ways to generate revenue, create an easy, and not just easy, a level playing field for the private sector to thrive, because we've seen a lot of things in several states where people are not able to establish businesses. When they establish businesses, the government comes with over-taxation, double taxation, destruction of businesses and the likes.
Yes.
So I think that it should be a pointer to every state governor out there to look for ways within the states. You can also look at what Abia State is doing with their efforts to see that there is direct investment in the states. So these are the things that we expect in Nigeria and at the state level, even at the local government level.
Thank you very much, Maxwell. So what I'm hearing from you is that state governments should look for ways to generate income for the state.
Yeah.
But, Uzodimma mentioned the fact that the internally generated revenue has really gone up high. 14 billion monthly. 3 billion monthly is a huge number. Now, do you think that, they have applied this advice that Maxwell has, in the sense that they have found ways to generate income and revenue for the states? And is this something that, how do you think other states can emulate this?
Okay, I think, like I said before, it's a welcome development, but at the same time, I talked about the sustainability of this thing. Then coming to other, states emulating this. See, the thing there is that these people, they have oil. You get, that's part of where they generate their yes, you get, but it's not the same with every other state. It's not, the other states are not as financially capacitated as they are. So I am still questioning if this is going to put pressure, even though I have that in mind, that it might actually pressure other state governors to do the same or increase salaries. But at the same time, I mean, you can't do more than your power can carry. You can only do what exactly you can only do what you feel like. Okay, this, when you analyze the income you generate monthly and then yearly, and you see if there is something that can be done for this. But at the same time, I wanted to say this: in as much as we are applauding this allocation or the rest of it, the increment of minimum wage, it's still not enough. It is not enough. 104,000 naira is good, though. It's better than what it used to be before, but it's not enough, because 104,000 naira is not taking you anywhere monthly. For somebody that, in as much as we advise people to, get other streams of income, generate multiple streams of income monthly, but people I cannot even survive with 104,000 naira monthly. Talk more of somebody that has family, somebody that has numerous responsibility, because at this point, it's not just about feeding. It's about other projects that you need to do as a family-oriented man. Do you get? So
you don't think this is going to be, this is enough? I
said that I applaud him. That was what I said earlier. I applaud this. I mean, he's stopping other states, but at the same time, 104,000 naira. It's not enough compared to their allowances.
Compared to their
allowances. No.
Public office holders.
Exactly.
And that's not what you're saying.
Exactly.
So I wanted to ask Maxwell now, based off of Ifoma's comment that even the 104,000 naira is not enough to help people thrive. Now, do you think this increase, especially for the healthcare, that they had their increase from, the doctors had their increase from over 200,000 to now over 500,000 naira minimum wage, do you think this is going to positively encourage them?
There is no place that salaries are increased that it's not a means of encouragement. You see, before the minimum wage was increased to what it was, to what we currently have, 70,000 naira, that's at the federal level, there was a lot of outcry. We had series of strikes. We had series of, union actions across Nigeria. Now, it was increased to 70,000, while people like myself said it wasn't enough at that time. It was what the federal government was willing to give. Of course, we frowned about it, but that is still what we got. For the states to have increased it to this level, that is why I am commending them, that if the federal does not even have
the capacity,
the willpower to increase minimum wage, even from the federal level to over 100,000, that is just opposing it with the current economic realities. How much is a bag of rice today?
Yes.
People cannot afford food to eat. So these are the issues. Yes, 104,000 naira may not be enough for what people, for what civil servants needs to take home to. And that's why I had to raise or point emphasis on the private sector. These are just for civil servants, which make up a very small chunk of our workforce. The majority of our workforce is in the private sector. And I said that, is this also generically applicable? Because if we have government increasing minimum wage to 104,000, and they've not created enabling environment for private sector to thrive, gain more revenue, and be able to increase their own salary level or base, then we are not really doing much. Because how many are the civil servants in the real sense of it? So even in the aspect of the doctors, like you mentioned, it is a motivation, I must say, but we can actually do better. I also like to stress on something that I find it troubling that even in that publication, in the speech delivered by the state governor, that all he spent most of his time was praising Bola Tinubu, who was for his efforts in doing this, doing that, removing fuel subsidy, and these are the reasons. It now makes me doubt if indeed the state is really doing something, because he said that the state allocation was increased from, I think he said about 4 billion to 14 billion.
Yes.
I'm not sure now, but if it is on this premise that we are seeing this, then there is more to do. There is more to work on. He also said that the time generated revenue had increased from about 400,000 naira to
400 million
about,
to 3 billion.
I don't know how many billion.
3
but
billion.
The truth is that we have economic problems in Nigeria, both at the federal and at the state level. It behooves on state governors to look for a workable and sustainable means of paying workers, because we have this problem everywhere across Nigeria where state governors come into power, they don't pay salaries, they don't pay pension, they don't pay gratuities. We have series of strikes. So if states can look for a solution, if the increments can go in this manner, then I would say that it is something to commend. And then we should now be holding the federal government ransom. So they should also create enabling environment for the private sector to be able to reflect this increment also, because those are the people who sustain our economy in the real sense of it.
Thank you very much. I like that he said that the private organization should be given a conducive environment, because at the end of the day, you cannot tell a company that has not been able to generate even a million naira yearly to pay 104,000 naira minimum wage to their staff. But generally, let's just get your conclusion on the matter moving forward.
Yes, like I said earlier, I said it's sounding, you know, very nice. It's looking very juicy but at the end of the day, it all boils down to the implementation. Will it be implemented?
Good question.
Will it stay consistent? You understand? And then again, will other states, you know, find other means to generate income for the state apart from what they have presently going on? That is their current means of generating revenue.
Yes.
Yes. Will it boost their, you know, morals to do more in order to give the workers a better life? Yes. So
good question.
That's basically
all right. And thank you so much for sharing your perspective on that. But let's move on to the next story, because this is something that is very particular to us, especially because we've talked about it a lot here. So we made mention of the fact that there was some faction of PDP that reached out to the former President Goodluck to see if he can return to the party and run for the 2027 presidential elections. And we made our predictions.
Yes.
And now this is what we have here. So it's as though I'll give you a high five because you got that right. So Goodluck Jonathan has come out to slam all the party defections, and he has instead, you know, hammered on the fact that we need electoral reforms. He went on, he was represented by the executive director of his foundation in person of Anne Iyonu, and he proposed an independent office of the registrar of political parties. So these are the things that he's proposing, that we have an independent office of the registrar of political parties to look into parties and look into defection. So if you want to defect, what reasons are you defecting? Exactly. I need you to state, be clear, let them be a body that will guide this. He also went forward to call for change to the process of appointing the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, suggesting that an independent panel should screen and nominate candidates. So these are the reforms that stood out for me. So I want to get your perspective on it, Ifoma. How do you think if we implement this, it would look like for us?
See, before that, I love this man. In as much as during his time there were a lot of controversies, but at the same time, this is somebody that could say after Yaradua is one of the best presidents Nigeria ever birthed or elected. Right from his time as the deputy governor, from deputy governor to the vice president, from vice president to the president, you get. But there's something that stood out with him. You know, when you are coming out to speak confidently about these defection issues that various parties have been encountering, you need to speak from a place of or which word should I use for it? I mean, a place of example. Like you have to set the pace. You understand? So he sets the pace. If you check his records, you see that this man has been a PDP member right from that deputy governor, being a deputy governor since 1999 till when he left office. So when he's talking about defection and sanctions that should be placed on any political party that defects, you get. I mean, Nigerians listen to him because they know that he's speaking from a place of, experience, you get. Then coming to how this will, play out, I think it's actually a very nice initiative, because this whole jumping and hopping from one party to another is doing no good. It loses it makes the public keep on losing faith and confidence in these politicians. You understand? So if there should be anything like this, I think it should be, held with all streets. It should be strictly adhered to, because a situation whereby somebody is about to move into a different party, you state the reasons why you want to, step out from that party to a different party. And then if you defect from this party to another without tangible explanation, you should be,
you should that your position should be made vacant.
Yes,
that vacant. If you defect, they should just make the position vacant.
Exactly. So you see that this is somebody
that how our politicians will take it. But yes,
the man, he's happy where he is. I think I love the fact that he's doing the job of a statesman or an elder.
Yes.
You get, he doesn't even want to involve himself with all this palaver in politics or the rest of. He's done from, how many years? He has track record of a lot of achievements. So it's time for him to
just enjoy himself. But to you, retirement, Okoma, with the speculations that he might return to PDP, and now seeing this statement that he has boldly made, what do you think about that, first of all?
All right, thank you very much. About Goodluck Jonathan's return to active politics in Nigeria, I don't see it coming, like I've rightly said in time past, and it would be a very grave mistake on his part for him to come back to try to run for the highest office of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
He's not coming back.
He's not ready for that
in 2027.
Yes.
I didn't get you. Sorry.
No, I was trying to explain to you that
politics. As for what he is saying, these are not strange news to the Nigerian political and electioneering space. We've had several panels, several reports, several bodies that have been set up for this same purpose. We saw many of these panels. We have the Rosanye report. We have that which the Leonard Silk in the person of Olisa Bakoba. Several of them, they have given us several views on solutions to the political or the electioneering problems we have in Nigeria. But you see, the problem we have in Nigeria is not really the laws, but the implementation of these laws. it is prescribed in the Constitution, I think Section 66 of the 1999 Constitution, that anyone who defects, any member of the legislative and who defects, loses his seat. It is there in the 2022 Electoral Act. It is there in the bylaws. So my question is, why haven't there been an implementation of these things? Do we still need former presidents, former governors to keep saying these things before we now understand? Because I find it overflogging the issues for a person like Goodluck. Even Goodluck Jonathan had the opportunity to reform the electioneering system, which they came through in 2007, himself and Yaradua as the vice president to Yaradua. He was president and then went through another electioneering process. But the problem is, those who have continued to set us backward, when they leave political office, they come out and seem to now give us advice on what should be done when they had the opportunity to do the same. These things have been in the public space. Why do we have people occupying seats when they have tribunal issues going on? Tribunal should be decided. People who question elections, they are matter. All it is not. There is a need. The chairman of INEC should not be an appointment of the ruling APC, or should not be an appointment of the ruling president. There should be an independent panel that should look into these things, appoint INEC, because he's not going to be a chairman of a political party. He's to be that's why it's called the Independent National Electoral Commission. But today we don't have an independent electoral commission. We do not in Nigeria. We have regs, that is resident electoral commissioners, who have been previous party members or even current party members. So we cannot have good elections in Nigeria with these kind of things. If they are able to listen to some of the things that Goodluck Jonathan have said, which is also has been documented in several reports and several panels that have been set up, then of course we may as well head somewhere with our elections.
All right. Thank you very much, Maxwell. So are you also buying with what Maxwell is saying, that we might not be able to, do you think we're able to achieve electoral reforms? Do you think we have the capacity?
Yes, it's possible. We already have the constitution. The only thing is
execution.
Yes, execute those things that are being imbibed in the constitution. That's just the only problem that we have. And then, just like what he said, the leaders or the person that should be in charge of INEC should be independent. You know, the INEC should